Stranger Things. Season 1 is one of the greatest debut seasons in Netflix history, but here's the thing nobody talks about. Hidden inside all that nostalgia and hype are plot holes so big you could drive a truck through them, and once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Today we are breaking down the 5 biggest plot holes in Stranger Things Season 1, and by the end of this video, you might never watch it the same way again. We are talking about a government lab that somehow nobody noticed for years, a monster that follows no rules, a kid who spent a year in another dimension and came out completely fine, and 2 others that will genuinely make you question how this show got praised for its writing. These are not small mistakes. These are problems baked right into the story. Let us get into it. Before we start, a quick word on why this matters. Stranger Things. Season 1 has been watched by hundreds of millions of people. Critics loved it. Fans obsessed over it. It won awards. It revived interest in 80s culture almost overnight. But loving something and thinking critically about it are not opposites. In fact, the best fans do both. We have gone through every episode of Season 1 frame by frame, rewatched key scenes multiple times, cross-referenced the official timeline, and lined up every major plot point against basic story logic. What we found is fascinating and a little frustrating. Alright, plot hole number 1. The lab nobody noticed. The Hawkins National Laboratory sits right on the edge of a small town in Indiana. It is a massive government facility. It has been running experiments on children for decades. It has armed guards. It has fences. Strange things happen there constantly. And somehow, nobody in Hawkins knows what is going on inside. Think about that for a second. This is a small town. Small towns talk. People notice things. A lab that big with that much activity in a town that size, someone would have reported something years ago. The show tries to explain this away by saying the government kept it quiet. Sure. Okay, but quiet and invisible are 2 very different things. You cannot run an operation that size in that location for that long without at least a few locals asking real questions. And here is where it really falls apart. When things start going wrong in Season 1, the town still does not connect it to the lab. A kid goes missing. Strange lights appear in the woods. People start acting weird. And nobody looks at the giant government building on the edge of town and thinks, maybe that place has something to do with this? The show needed the town to stay ignorant to keep the plot moving. And it shows. The Demogorgon has no rules. The Demogorgon is the main villain of Season 1. It is scary, it is relentless, and it is deeply inconsistent. At first, the show sets up clear rules. The Demogorgon is drawn to blood. It hunts by sensing wounds or injury. That is a solid rule. It creates tension. It makes sense. But then the show breaks its own rule constantly. Barb gets taken after barely cutting her hand. Small wound. Immediate response. Fine. But Will Byers, who's the whole reason this show exists, hides from the Demogorgon for an entire week inside the Upside Down. He is scared, probably injured from running, living in a terrifying alternate dimension. And the Demogorgon cannot find him? The creature that tracked Barb down in minutes cannot locate a child hiding in a makeshift fort for 7 days? The writers needed Will to survive long enough to be rescued, so the Demogorgon suddenly stopped being good at its one job. The rule existed when it was useful, and disappeared when it was not. That is not a monster with a mythology. That is a plot device in a monster costume. Will Byers is somehow fine. Will Byers spent roughly 7 days in the Upside Down. The Upside Down is described as a toxic, dark mirror of our world. The air is contaminated. There are dangerous creatures. It is cold, dark, and hostile to human life. Will is 11 years old. He has no survival training. He has no special powers. He is hiding and surviving on instinct alone. And when he comes back, he is okay. Like, pretty much okay. Yes, they show him coughing up a slug in the last episode, and Season 2 deals with the aftermath more seriously. But in the immediate return, the doctors clear him surprisingly fast. His family is relieved. The town moves on. A child survived a week in a dimension that should have killed him within hours. And the medical response is basically, here is some warm soup. Glad you're back. For comparison, people who survive a few days lost in normal woods often come back with hypothermia, severe dehydration, psychological trauma, and weeks of recovery. Will survived the literal Upside Down and was back at school before Christmas. The show needed a happy-ish ending for Season 1, so it soft-pedaled the trauma to get there, and the logic suffered for it. 11 has no origin story that holds up. 11 is the emotional core of the whole show. Her backstory is supposed to explain everything: the upside down, the Demogorgon, the gate between worlds. Here's the problem. None of it quite adds up. 11 opened the gate to the upside down accidentally during a terrifying experiment. She touched the Demogorgon in a sensory deprivation tank and ripped a hole between dimensions. Okay, so she opened the gate. But how did the Demogorgon already know how to come through? It acted like it had been waiting, like it already understood how to move between worlds, like it had done this before. If 11 accidentally opened the gate for the first time, why does the Demogorgon behave like a creature that already knows the rules of interdimensional travel? And here's the bigger question. 11 has been at the lab since she was a baby. She has been experimented on her entire life. But the gate only opens in Season 1? If she has had these powers for years, what were they doing before? Why did this experiment go differently? The show never gives us a clean answer. The writers needed a mysterious villain and a powerful protagonist. They connected those two dots with a thin line and hoped the emotional weight of the story would carry you past the logic gaps. For most viewers, it does, but the gaps are there. The adults are conveniently useless. This one is not a single moment. It is a pattern that runs through the entire season. Every adult in Hawkins is exactly as competent or incompetent as the plot needs them to be at any given moment. Hopper is a smart, experienced police chief. He figures out the lab's involvement quickly. He breaks in. He finds the fake sensory tank. He puts the pieces together fast, but somehow this same smart, experienced police chief cannot figure out that the kids he is supposed to be protecting are actively investigating the same thing he is. He is steps behind them for weeks. Joyce Byers spends most of the season being dismissed as a hysterical mother, and sure, the show is partly making a point about how women get ignored. Fine, but the degree to which every other adult ignores overwhelming evidence stretches well past social commentary into pure plot convenience. Christmas lights talk to her through the wall. Her son spells out messages. The wallpaper moves, and the town's response is basically, "Have you considered therapy?" The adults needed to stay out of the way so the kids could be the heroes. That is a fine storytelling choice, but the show never earns it. It just keeps making adults inexplicably blind until the plot needs them to act. When they finally do step up, Hopper finding Will, Joyce refusing to give up, it is genuinely moving, but getting there required everyone to be selectively stupid for 8 episodes. So there you have it. 5 massive plot holes hiding inside one of the most beloved first seasons in TV history. Here's the thing though, none of this means Stranger Things. Season 1 is bad. It is not. It is still an incredible piece of television that drew millions of people in and held them tight. But great stories can have problems, and pointing out those problems is not hating on the show. It is respecting it enough to look at it honestly. Now here's what I want to know from you. Which one of these surprised you the most? Was it the Demogorgon with no consistent rules, or Will surviving the upside down basically fine? Drop your answer in the comments. I genuinely read every single one, and if you want to go deeper, I have a full breakdown of Season 2's biggest problems sitting right over there. Spoiler, it is worse. Hit subscribe if you are new. We drop Stranger Things content every week. See you in the next one.